Then I have to say that the highlight of my week last week was when showbiz reporter Tina Baker went along to interview George Harrison, and we discovered that apparently he's an After Nine fan. He works out with Lizzie regularly, and apparently he even watched the feature on makeup for the older face, which, judging by the interview, which you're going to see very shortly, I'm sure he doesn't need any tips because he's looking extremely good indeed. Of course, George was always really the shy one of the Beatles, who, through all the fan mania, fought very hard indeed to maintain his privacy. And since those crazy days in the 60s, he's really made a determined effort to avoid all the media circus, and actually very rarely gives interviews. So Tina Baker asked him how important it's been for him to keep right out of the limelight.
Everybody must have their own space, and a little bit of peace. And you've all got to have somewhere where you can go and breathe out and not be faced, with all the clutter in life. And so, for me, it's like that. I have a house with a garden around it, and I appreciate it if people don't bother me when I'm in there because, there's enough to deal with without, people climbing over the wall all the time. I mean, that's the problem with coming out with a record. I mean, if the record's a hit, then next minute they're all phoning you up and knocking on the door and want you to do a gig here and do a gig there. And
leaping in front of your trolley at Sainsbury's and saying, can I have an autograph? Are you prepared for all that? I mean, if it was, sort of a huge...
It's not bad now. I can handle it. And also the generation have all grown up, and those people who are, the Beatle fanatics are all 40 to 50-year-olds.
And buying your CDs.
I hope so.
Now, there's one of the tracks on the album called Just for Today. Is that part of your philosophy?
Yeah, it is. But that really is Alcoholics Anonymous.
That's where it came from, is it?
Yeah, I got some friends who don't drink because they were alcoholics. And because I'm not an alcoholic, I can drink enormous quantities of it. It's funny, isn't it? It's just a joke. But, no, I had these friends, and this guy just said, oh, here's the little thing that we give out in AA, and it's called Just for Today, and it says about trying not to deal with all life's problems, just to live one day at a time, basically.
So is that part of your philosophy?
And so I wrote the song based on that, because I think it's good for me to remember, I don't think you have to be an alcoholic just for that, to be reminded of that. It's like to just say to breathe out and just take each moment as it comes and not get all wound up worrying about what we're going to do tomorrow and like that.
Do your family share your beliefs now?
When you say family,
well,
both the
family.
missus.
Yeah. The missus.
Yeah, the missus does. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And your son, is it Danny?
Danny.
Danny, it's actually pronounced, but is it an Indian name?
It's not, as they say in the newspapers, that it means fabulously wonderful rich person. It's from, where I learned some Indian music from Ravi Shankar. And as we have in the West, do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do, in India they have sa, re, ga, ma, pa, da, ni, sa. So it's two notes of the scale, da and ni.
Both the Johnsons have grown up very much in the public eye. Have you made a decision that Danny will stay away from all of that?
John's first son was at the height of Beatlemania. Julian was around. And his second son is growing up in the height of publicity, or whatever it's called, because Yoko's pushing him there. I mean, she's putting him in the papers and putting him on the telly and putting him in Michael Jackson's house. And, different strokes for different folks. I think they should let them have a bit of peace and be kids and just play as kids. And, there's all this sort of, everybody wants to knows about and find out about your kids, but I think that's unfair on them.
I mean, but will he be able to sort of have just a normal upbringing, really?
Well, I mean, it's not normal anyway, having a dad who's an ex-Beatle living in a sort of wacky castle, you know what I mean?
Yes,
that's not normal, but to him it is normal, and within that framework, he still is a good boy and knows about, that there's people who aren't as fortunate, and, he's sensitive to the other things that are happening in the world. He's not just like, some pampered little, horror, precocious and that. He's good. I think he's okay.
I think he's okay. Isn't that smashing? He sounds like a really good dad. And what a great man of the week.